Hello, Mr. Starchesky. How are you tonight? I am so excited about our show. We have Middle Marvels number 9 coming to you live, and we have got an individual we're going to bring on tonight that is second to none when we talk about longevity in the field of education. How are you, my friend?
Dean Packard, I am doing really well tonight. You know what? We had an opening of school like no other in the past couple of days. Yesterday, we had our meet and greet and our materials distribution, and today we opened up with several different versions of a schedule running at the same time in our buildings. And I have to say, it was a special kind of tired that I felt by about 9:30 in the morning, but we buckled down and banged through, and we've got an amazing faculty and staff who just took us to the next level. It was a fantastic opening day, and they realized that their efforts were being realized.
Well, Chris, I'm going to tell you what, we're probably in great company across the nation of principals doing the same thing, combining schedules, getting their schools open, and making sure teachers and students have all the necessary things they need to be successful. And quite frankly, I think that we are going to be extremely excited about what's going to be happening, the learning that's going to go on, and it all takes place because of great educators that are in the classroom. Say nothing else, that's where it all comes back to. So again, that's kind of our segue into tonight. I mean, tonight we've got a special guest, and we stumbled upon this gentleman. And I'll tell you, when I found out his pedigree, his longevity in the field of education, I almost fell off my chair because I'm entering my 29th year in education. I don't know exactly, I forget where you are, but he's got me trumped. And I know how I feel. So you're looking to go to his 47th year and still with vigor and energy and passion to connect with us later on to ensure that we're helping learning in our buildings. I couldn't believe that. So I'll tell you what, I'm more than really excited to bring on our guest.
Well, we've got a heck of a middle marvel coming at you tonight, people. It takes a lot to be in the field for the longevity that our guest has been in the field. And he's a middle level educator in the field. You know, for this amount of time, it takes a very special talent to be able to reach and teach middle level learners and to the level that this gentleman has. And we're going to learn a little bit tonight, I think, about some tips and tricks on how to be a great middle level rock star.
Well, let me tell you what, let me do his bio and let's get him in here because I think that's important for us right now. Joseph Pizzo from New Jersey. He's entering his 47th year as a middle level language arts teacher. He is currently also an adjunct professor at Centenary, I think I said that correctly, University. He teaches writing classes as a tutor at Edison UWin Learning Center. He's the historian for the NCT. He was one of the first inductees into the International Broadcast WWOR TV Channel 9 A+ for Teachers Hall of Fame. He's on the executive boards of New Jersey AMLE and New Jersey CTE. He's also been the Educator of the Year for both groups. He's a writer, he's a poet, he's a podcaster, he's a voiceover provider, he's a lector, he's an usher for his church, he's a merit badge counselor for the Boy Scouts, and I don't know what else he does, but I'm already tired. Joe, welcome to our show. Unbelievable. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh.
It's a pleasure.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to begin. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you 47 years in the business. Joe, one of the questions I'll ask you at the end is what is the secret? But before we go there, let's kind of go back to the beginning where the journey starts. So Chris, why don't you start off if you would for me, please?
Yeah, you know, Joe, being a middle level educator takes a lot of passion, takes a lot of drive, and to be able to sustain it for the amount of time that you have, it must have been quite the ride to get into the educational game. Can you talk to us a little bit about your journey to become a middle level educator and just share with us how you got into the game?
Sure. I never thought I was going to be a teacher when I was a kid. I wanted to play center field for the Yankees. I was taking over for Mickey Mantle. That was it. That was my passion in life. And I didn't have the athletic ability. I wasn't healthy enough. And so that dream went out the window. But I was in college one day in a math class of all things. I'm a language arts teacher, and I know math is a language. And there were two guys having a discussion before class, and they couldn't figure out a problem. And I knew how to do the problem. So I walked over to them and I said, you guys having trouble with this problem? They said, yeah. I said, would you like some help? They said, oh, sure. And I helped them out. And I went, sat back down at my desk. At that point, up to that particular incident, I really didn't know what I was going to do. But I sat down and said, that wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed that. And it just started from there, and it grew.
It's amazing how those little experiences have such powerful impact. And, there's so many of us in the game that have had that type of influence. Thanks for sharing that. And just so you know, I'm a huge Yankees fan, and I am a former math teacher. So we're connecting right now, brother.
Oh, man. Well, I got to tell you what, you started off the game like that and you talked about it, and then all of a sudden you blink your eyes twice and you're entering your 47th year. Now, through those years, obviously, you really probably had to overcome some obstacles and really kind of redefine yourself over and over and over again to become the person and the teacher that you are today. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what some of those obstacles would have been for you, Joe?
I can, but I really don't look at obstacles. What I look at is what can we do to make things even better than they are. My principal always used to tell us that. Bob Mullen, he'd say, he'd greet us at faculty meetings as the greatest faculty in the United States, best middle school faculty. He says, how can we be even better? And the gentleman who was my mentor, Dr. Joseph Burns, he always told me, parents only send their best children to us. And I thought about that and said, you're right. And he said, how can we make sure that this experience is good for them? I've always been a hands-on guy. I had outstanding professors in college, and it grew from there. We have a garden, a 9/11 memorial garden in the town of Chester. We did a whole ceremony for it. The kids designed, got a landscaper to build the garden. We went to the council meeting to get the variances, and it was all because of kids. I had a student the year before who was a poet. We needed a poem. I went to him. I kind of went hat in hand and said, could you write a poem? And he says, I don't know. But he wrote one and had everybody in tears. We had over 200 people at the ceremony, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. We have kids who have done amazing things. I have two students who've written novels. And both those novels are published. They're on Ready, Aim, Right through Stephen Kozan. I have one of the students who did a novel for me. She also has won gold and silver keys from Scholastic. She won 2 years in a row. And the biggest honor for me is I got to introduce her the second year that she won the award.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I have a student who's still in touch with me. He's one of the most prominent lawyers in New York City. He's an immigration lawyer. And when I would visit him in his office in Chinatown, we'd walk down the street and everybody would be hollering to him. And I'd say, wow, you know a lot of people. He says, well, I do a lot of work for these folks. And he always did pro bono work. And to this day, he stays in touch with me. We get together once a year. And no matter how much I try, he will not let me pick up any check or pay for anything. He says, no, you're my teacher. And so this is the way people in my culture treat their teachers. Wow. And I'm overwhelmed. And he's the nicest young man you'd ever want to meet.
Wow, Joe, it sounds like you've had some tremendous success, at bringing passions out in kids and maintaining connection, because that's really what, education is all about. Content is content, but being able to deliver the content in a meaningful way, in an engaging way, to have a relationship with our kids as we deliver it. It sounds like you've had a tremendous influence. And, you mentioned a couple of real life lessons that you've done. That 9/11 memorial sounds phenomenal. What are some other ways that you incorporate real life activities into the experience for kids in your environment?
A colleague of mine and I put an article together and we sent it to NCTE. They included it in a book called Writing Can Change Everything.
Oh, yeah.
Shelby Whitty is the editor. And This whole program started out with my being an usher in church. Masses ended. The last couple people out of the church are a young lady and her boyfriend. They're back from Catholic University, and she wants to introduce her boyfriend to the priest. She walks up there and just collapses at his feet. And those few of us who are there don't know what to do. Now, we don't have medical backgrounds, and you don't want to do something that's going to be harmful. But I thought, I've got to do something. So I set the collection basket down, ran behind the altar, got wet paper towels, dry paper towels, ran back and gave them to the mom and said, here, use the wet paper towels to keep her cool and the dry paper towels maybe to pat her forehead dry. What ended up, we found out the next day she didn't make it. And the dad told me later on that she had died as soon as she hit the ground.
Oh, my God.
She had AFib, was not on medication, and it was just instant.
No.
So I thought, I've got to teach my kids how to give comfort to somebody when they're in pain, when they're in a difficult situation, because that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And we read a story by Ernest Hemingway called A Day's Wait. And I'll move this through because I have a long version of this, but the short version is that this young man confuses the fact that he's now in America, was living in France prior. And so when he hears the doctor say his fever is 102.4, he says to his dad, I'm going to die because the boys told me in France that at 40 degrees temperature, you're going to die. Mine's 102.4. No. It's Celsius and Fahrenheit. But I thought, how can you make that character feel better without doing the, well, you know what I would do, or I know exactly how you feel, because no, you don't. You really don't. So I thought about my experience negotiating and a little bit with sales and just logic and common sense. And I said, okay, I'm going to come up with a 5-step approach. First one is you make a connection. Second, you don't say you did this very harshly, but you soften it. I hear that there may have been a problem. I think that you might have run into a little issue recently. Third thing is, if you offer help, you don't say you should do this or this will make it better. You may want to consider. You might think about this might help you if. The fourth part is, if I can help you in the future, don't hesitate. Please reach out to me. But then I thought that's not enough, because you have one person who's the problem solver and one person who, of course, has the problem and is going to have the problems in the future because you've offered your help and you're going to be the one who's the savior. There's got to be a 5th step. And the 5th step is, when I have a problem, may I please come to you? Would you help me out? And that levels the playing field. I get a lot of heat for using the phrase quid pro quo. People say, no, that's like a payoff. No, it's not. Because in Latin, it means this for that.
Yep.
So you're doing this and I'm doing that and we're equal. And that makes it more realistic. And that skill is a skill that Ken Pasek and I both call our power skills. A lot of people call them soft skills. We call them power skills. Because without them, without that humanity, without those abilities to engage and comfort and facilitate, you're not going to go very far in this world. You're going to struggle. And the people whom you could help, you won't be able to, because you won't be going in the right direction.
Your years of wisdom shine through with that, because you have the ability to pivot and move away from curriculum and intertwine empathy and compassion and then dovetail it back into the learning. You know, you don't get that as a first year, second year, third year teacher. That comes over time. That comes over years of living and seeing and being part of overall growth. So my hat's off to you. That's a great way to look at things. And those are essential skills for life. There's no doubt about it. Taking it a bit further, digging a little deeper, besides the connectivity you have with kids and your community and everything that you do, what do you like to do besides just the teaching aspect of things? What are some of the passions that you have that you just, that might dovetail into what you're doing for your real job?
I do a lot of away from school, but I focus a lot on school. I'm the guy whose car's in the parking lot. 2 Fridays ago, I left 20 to 8 and I was working. And people in the community know, they go by the parking lot, they see my car. One parent actually came with her son one night. It was about 10 after 7. I'm still working, and they brought me pizza. And they said, "We know that you haven't had dinner yet. Here." And that was so nice.
Yeah.
But I have one thing that I'm really proud of, and I do want to say this because I think this is even more important than what I do. I had a student write a poem. We read The Giver, and then we do a color poem.
Yeah.
And he wrote his poem, but he was frustrated at the beginning. And he comes up to me, he says, "Man, I'm just not getting it." I said, "Well, I'm a poet. Talk to me." He says, I wrote about red. Okay. Writing about white. Fine. But I'm just not feeling it. So what do you want to write about? "I want to write about the flag, red, white, and blue." Go for it. He wrote a poem, blew me away. I couldn't believe the power in this poem. And so I sent it to as many people as I could, and I got some feedback, tell your student wonderful. I said, no, that's not enough. So end of school, everybody's got their rooms cleaned out, and I'm there at the computer hammering away. Who can I write to? Who can I write to? I get an answer back from the United States Bureau of Veterans Affairs. And they said, "Dear Mr. Pizzo, we love your student's poem. Would you please write a blog to explain what this project is and have your student sign a release?" And he did his poem on a screencast, so that his voice is there with the video of the text. We sent it to them, and on July 4th, 2016, that poem was on their homepage.
Wow.
It's still there in the archives. And the ELA Foundation found out about it, asked me to send that one. I did. Send another blog. I did. Send a couple more poems. I did. They featured that on their website. NCTE took a longer blog that I did, divided it into 2, the project and the students' work. And so we were featured 2 times there as well.
Wow.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do never know what the potential of that what if moment, the why not moment. Do I have to stay to the script that I had a predetermined outcome for and guiding the kids? Throw that out. Come on, let's pursue the passion. Absolutely. Support you 100%. Thank you for doing that. It really allows your kids to be authentic. And then when they hit the real world, they're going to give back because they have that model that they're building off of. You've talked an awful lot tonight, Joe, about what it is that kind of drives you and how you really approach teaching and learning and how you really connect with kids. For you, though, go inside the heart and inside the head. What's really exciting about teaching for you?
I think back on my own life, and I wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for my parents, if it weren't for my professors in college who really sparked an interest in me, for the mentors that I've had in my life, and for the kids. I work in a community where everyone helps everybody. If someone's in need, someone else steps up. I had entire communities praying for my mom when she was ill, for my dad when he was ill. I lost my sister years ago, and a couple of students came, wrote a poem, and just to comfort me. And so I took the poem, copied it. I have the copy on my wall, and the other copy went into the casket with my sister.
Oh.
They did the same thing for my mom. Did the same thing as well. And I read the poem that day when we had the funeral. So those things to me mean so much. On Teacher Appreciation Day, we because of COVID-19 are all in lockdowns and nobody was in a school building. I had a student and her mom drive probably round trip 50 miles
Wow.
to my house. On my front porch, they dropped off a teacher appreciation gift, sent me an email telling me about this. And I went out there, and there's a plate of homemade cookies, and they know I'm a tea drinker. So there's a big tea mug. And I said, this is the nicest thing. So what I did today is I found the student and I called her to stop to my room because she's in 8th grade now. I don't see her. She came by my room and I said, I have a bag of chocolates, one for you and one for your mom. Because remember on Teacher Appreciation Day, what you did for me? I said, yesterday was my birthday. And so what I'm doing for my own birthday is I'm celebrating it by telling you how much I appreciate you and your mom. So here, take these home. I get an email today from the mom telling me just how wonderful I am. And I have an invitation to dinner now on a Saturday night in the next couple of weeks.
Hey,
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Everything we do. Yeah. No, that's a great story. And, you don't realize the impact that you have on people until they recognize you later on. And it's from a teaching perspective, that's huge. And every day we have a chance to be someone's champion. And every day we have a chance to turn someone's life around. And for the new teachers out there watching, I mean, what you're saying, Joe, is just filled with wisdom. And it's connections first, relationships first, content will follow thereafter. And we say it all the time, especially from the middle level, as kids are going through the toughest parts of their lives. And they want to know that you like them and they respect them. And if you get to that point, they'll do anything for you.
yeah, they will.
You know that, Joe.
I have a really quick story for you. I went back to school one summer, day or two before we started, and I found a letter. And in the letter, it came from a young man who used to drive all his teachers crazy. But this guy had a mind. I used to tell him, look, you could sit in my college classes. I could put you in a graduate class. You can discuss literature. You can analyze as well as anybody I've ever seen. But when he would be goofing off and other people were not really tolerating that, I'd pull him in from the hallway and I'd say, Eric, come here. We go in my room. I'd shut the door. I'd say, tell me what you're doing. No, I don't want to know. I don't care. Cut it out. Whatever it is, cut it out, because there are people who want your skin right now. Stop bugging people. I don't want to lose you. I need you in my class. I need your discussion and your brain in my class. Stop it. It would stop for 2 or 3 weeks. He'd start up again in a hallway. Come here. I'd close the door. I'd say, I don't have to say anything, do I? You know, stop it. Out we'd go. We made it through. He went through high school. And at the end of college, I get that letter and it says, Dear Mr. Pizzo, I don't know if you remember me. Oh, yes, I remember you, Eric. Very well. He says, I'm writing because you're the only guy who believed in me. I want to say thank you. I'm now working for a company I just signed a contract with. He said, I just graduated from school. I'm going to be a financial advisor. And I wanted to say thank you for believing in me.
Wow.
You can't ask for more than that.
Yeah, there it is. That kind of sums everything.
We never realize the power and the impact of a decision and an action that we take. Sometimes we'll never know what it is, but if we approach it with a good faith intent, most likely there are good things that are going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, my question here, and after your 47 years, and I hope you go to 53 before you decide to retire. But
That's not long enough.
Not long enough. That was the answer I knew you were going to say. But, the people just coming into the business, they haven't had an opportunity to really navigate through. Their mindsets are a little bit different. What advice would you give to somebody who's just coming in, knowing that you can see that shining star in them, but you want to help them get to that 5-year mark, that 10-year mark, before giving up on what they probably have a real passion for? What would you say to somebody?
I would tell them, first of all, not to overthink everything. Remember to be yourself. Don't get caught up in the task or caught up in the moment. Don't try to be everybody's friend. Don't try to be the person who never smiles until whatever holiday it is that you designate. Just go there and be honest. Let everybody know that when you make a mistake, it's okay to say, excuse me, I think that's wrong, and do it politely. Because if you make a mistake, I have to do the same thing politely. If I don't do it politely, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's setting a tone. It's one of those power skills. It's modeling. Find a good mentor in the building, someone whom you can trust, not someone who will say one thing to you, but then run and your problems become the buzz of the district. That's not what you need. Don't overwork and lose yourself. Keep a little bit of time for you. I'm always doing a crossword puzzle or a jumble or something, just anything to keep the mind going. I love music. I've loved music since I was a kid. And I listen to a lot of radio because I think that the music helps me as a writer. It's composition and it's mood and it's rhythm and all that goes into the writing. I try to tell my students, forget about being a writing student. You are a writer who's learning about writing. Write as a writer does. If you're a football player and you know all the plays, but you've never put a uniform on, you're in trouble. You're in deep trouble. That game comes, you won't know what to do, and you won't have been through the panic. Find the kid in your room, neophyte teachers. Find the kid in your room who's the tech whiz and rely on that kid. Every period, I'm always saying, okay, who's the tech person in here? Who knows tech? Okay, you're my tech guys. If I have a tech problem, I'm going to you.
Smart.
I'm relying on you because they can do it better than I can. They were born with those devices in their hands. I think the devices come in utero now. It's part of the standard issue. But whatever the case may be, the idea is don't try to be something you're not, and don't try to make somebody into something that you're not.
True.
You know, make humor a part of your room, but don't laugh at people, laugh with them. And remember that you can't really put somebody on the spot because that's uncomfortable. And if you do, apologize. It's okay. Gee, I really didn't mean to do that. One mistake a lot of people make when they call home for a conference is they'll call home and say, I'm having trouble with your son or your daughter. No, worst thing you can do. I'm calling to discuss your child's progress. I see some good things, and here's what they are. Now, I have a situation or two here that I could use your help with. Are you seeing the same things at home? What I'm seeing is, I think you're going to get a much better response than, your kid doesn't work. I've tried everything. I'm so frustrated. Can't you get this kid to get his homework done? What are you doing at home? That's getting you nowhere. That's getting you nowhere at all.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely correct. 100%. It's all about that delivery.
Yeah, build a bridge. Don't kick down a door.
Yeah, agreed with you. Chris, you got that next one? We've got, what's the secret, Joe? I'm going to jump in there. What is the secret? I took it away from you, Chris.
I was with the pause being because I think Joe gave us the secret.
I think he did
I'll let
too.
him summarize.
I don't know if there's a secret that's a one size fits all. I think everybody's secret's a little different, but I think there are common elements. And those are the things we've been talking about. Be honest. Go in there with energy. Don't carry your problems in there and take it out on somebody. Don't gossip, for goodness sakes, and don't talk about a kid out in the hallway when there could be another kid overhearing what you're saying. Please don't do that, because that will spread faster than any wildfire in any part of this world. True. And you've hurt somebody. And once you hurt them, especially at that vulnerable age, it's going to be really tough getting that back.
You're right.
You can't hit a rewind. You can't hit a mute. You can't hit an erase button.
Yeah. There's no retakes on that.
No.
You're absolutely correct. I 100% agree with you.
I am reflecting back on, my shorter career that I've been thinking in the last few weeks. That is an exceptionally long career, especially these last 3 months that we've been enduring the rollout of our plans, Joe. And I'm harking back to some of the real key foundational pieces of why I got into education. And And it does really center me back to the idea of relationship, treat others as you really want to be treated, and really work hard to make an impact, so that way someone else can have as best a future as they possibly can have. And I want to thank you for not only your years of education, but for taking the time tonight to sit down with us and share in some of the great things that you've accomplished, and for being proud enough and humble enough to be able to share them in a way that makes us feel as if we need to be like Joe. That could be our t-shirt, Dean. Be like
It could be a t-shirt. I like that. Unlock the middle. Be like Joe.
You got me blushing now.
Everything you said though is spot on. And and in my short 29-year career, I find myself reflecting on everything you said and the mistakes I've made and how I've corrected them along the way, and trying to ensure that I pass that on to every educator that walks in my building, to provide tools for them to be successful and help them through those tough times and guide them through those difficult conversations. Yep. But at the end of the day, everything we do is predicated on helping a child reach some goal. I don't care what it is. And that's important.
Just want to say one quick thing. I had a note I sent out today to a youngster who wasn't in class and should have been. He was remote. And he says he was there. I said, look, I was monitoring a test and you weren't there. But I didn't pull the hammer down. What I said is, you're a very bright individual. What I want you to do is take that talent and put it to its best ability. Because if you're not there, you can't practice the things that you do well. So you've got to be there with me. And that, I think, is going to go a whole lot farther than screaming and threatening and how dare you, and if you do this again, this will happen. No.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins.
Lose, right.
Lost the whole learning environment at that place. Hey, we want to wrap it up a little bit, Joe. I could talk for hours. We're only scratching the surface of what you could bring. I just have one little question I want to ask before we go. Who is the person who influenced you the most?
Oh, gosh. I can't narrow it to one, because a family is a foundation. My mom and dad supported me. I was not a healthy kid growing up, and I'm lucky to be here. So they supported me through a lot of grief and a lot of situations that without their support and without their kindness and their prayers, I would not be here speaking with you. I was lucky enough to have a sister who was not really my sister. She was my cousin. I had a second dad who was not really my second dad. He was my uncle, but my aunt died in childbirth. So my mom had her brother, my second dad, come and live with us. And my sister, with my cousin, a baby at the time, come and live with us. And so I was raised in a family with two dads and a sister. I had amazing teachers all through school. My mentors at the middle school, Doc Burns, when I first started out, when he was still Mr. Burns. I had Ken Pasek, who's an amazing, amazing teacher. Don Markman, a wonderful principal. Joe Marie Penny, another wonderful principal. Bob Mullen, Andrew White right now. I could go on and on. But I think ultimately the appreciation goes to everyone who has been willing to open their hearts to let me touch them.
John, that's powerful.
It's that willingness that's necessary. Without that, I can't get in.
Yeah, Joe, the way you bring it home back to the relationship and the personal influences just absolutely exudes what it is that we are hoping to be able to bring out with our Middle Marvel segment, really showcasing the talents and the abilities, not only with pedagogy, but with the willingness to put themselves out there on the humanistic perspective, to really bring kids into their world and bring themselves into the kids' worlds to have a long-lasting influence. Joe, you are a true Middle Marvel. We are honored to have you on the show tonight. We're so excited that you're able to share some of the 47 years of teaching experience with us. And as we work hard as middle school principals to help unlock the middle, we are learning from you as much as people who are watching this now and later on replays. We are all better for having spent, this short amount of time with you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Joe.
Christine, I think the work you both are doing is tremendous, because you are putting a spotlight on all the good that's in the middle. And this is what the political world needs to hear. This is what the business world needs to hear. This is what the community at large needs to hear. That teaching is not something you do because it's a shoulder shrug. And I go back to the phrase, those that can do, those that can't teach. Well, no. That's not right, because that's not even the correct phrase. The correct phrase was actually coined by some little known European, I think his name was Aristotle. And he actually said, those that can do, those that understand teach.
There you go.
Boom. That's a perfect segue for an ending, Joe. And ladies and gentlemen, Joe Pizzo, 47th year in education. I think he's going to go 57th year and beyond. There's no stopping this train at this point in time. Keep being that pioneer for your kids, that champion. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to speak with you tonight. What I'd like to do is continue to connect with you. Joe, you're our first middle marble out of state. So that has a certain recognition for us. As soon as our sponsors come on, you're getting that T-shirt. And I promise you that. But don't change who you are, my friend. Just keep going, because obviously you're a beacon of light in your district, in your classroom, and for all those kids you deal with each day. So thank you so much. Chris, we do have to wrap it up. So let's wrap this up. Thank you all for joining us tonight. If you get a chance to reach out to us, you can do so at our Twitter handle at unlockingthemiddle at gmail.com. And more importantly, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all those great places where we continue to bring out the very best in what happens at the middle level. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Don't forget that goal, Dean. We want 50 states represented by next year in September.
We'll be looking for that.